Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Ludmila Barba is with you. I invite you to this new program, Diplomatic Dimension. At the beginning of December, we mark 2 days. First is December the 10th, International Day of Human Rights, which was adopted in the year 2048. And second one is December 18, the International Day of Migrants, which was created in year 2000, General Assembly of United Nations. Our guest today is Lars Johan Lönnback, head the International Organization for Migrants, and welcome to the Moldovan program, Moldova 1. And here is your first question. Why 18th of December is adopted as International Day of Migrants? What does this day signifies? What's the connection with the other day when we celebrate International Day of Human Rights?
Well, I think we should underline that the General Assembly of the United Nations has been engaged with migration efforts for many decades. The 18th of December is the day when the General Assembly adopted in 1990 the Migrant Workers Convention. So it was decided 10 years later as an anniversary that a new day would be marked for the migrants, so International Migrants Day on the 18th of December. This day, I think, represents a celebration of the migrants, the contributions that they make in their countries of reception, and also the countries back home with regards to the funds that they can send back, but also coming back with new skills that they have acquired in their country of destination.
Do please tell us what would be the migration definition of the migration phenomenon? Is it positive? Is it because people have the right to choose a new country and to develop where they wish to? Or do you think migration is a negative phenomenon? Because we know migration fluxes, when they are too big, they create crises. For example, year 2014, when the European Union had found itself in a difficult position because it was difficult to do management. So what do you think? It's more positive or more negative, this process?
Well, I think that you framed it very well. I think it is a very complex issue. There are both sides to it, obviously, and a lot in between. But I would like to say that a lot of the migration goes very unnoticed. We have to be aware of that there are so many sectors of our socioeconomic life, the tech sectors, the social care sectors, also a lot of the industry. They are now completely dependent on migrants. The hospitals in the United Kingdom, in Sweden, in Germany, they would shut if all of the migrants left. So these are the unsung heroes of socioeconomic life in the last 20 years. Obviously, a lot of the media is fixated on the negative aspects of migrants, which are real. For instance, the tragedies on the Mediterranean, also social unrest because of various differences within societies. But these are real complex issues that governments need to tackle, just as they need to tackle other issues like climate, the economy, and other things. So migration is one of the big societal political issues of our time.
One should mention that surveys carried out in this area show that migration in the world is increasing. And here are some data For example, 175 used to be in year 2000, in 2000, but in year 2015 there were already 245 million, and in year 2019 the number went to 272 million, or about 3.5 of the population of the entire world. And now we face new challenges, the war of the Russian Federation in Ukraine, and the Republic of Moldova felt what means migration flux which comes to your country. And the International Migration Organization was one of the international structure which came with assistance and support for the management of this huge flux of migrants. What can you say about situation of migrants from Ukraine in the Republic of Moldova, and what is the support that they benefit from the International Migration Organization?
Well, I think you characterize it very well. The fact that we have up to 3.5% of the world's population being in a migratory situation, they have crossed the borders. We must be aware of it's even a larger figure if you're looking at internal migration. So displacement because of war, because of natural disasters. So a lot of people are on the move. So it's a very big issue. You were mentioning the war in Ukraine, where Moldova has become immediately affected by it. 1 million persons have passed through Moldova. 100,000 remain here. Obviously, Moldova and the size of its population, its economy, there has been a very big effect on it. I think that the country has handled this enormously well. From a legal point of view, from an integration point of view, there has been a lot of efforts been put into this, and we have seen a stabilization of the situation. So the government has dealt with this very strongly. A number of the donor partners from the European Union, from the United States, have been supporting also, and us from the United Nations, civil society technically have been able to work with these issues. Have they dealt with the shelter for these people primarily, but also cash benefits to be able to get what you need in a quick and efficient way. Protection issues are still there, and other areas with regards to integration. So I think that we're in a new phase, and we're stabilizing the situation. We are ready for any contingencies if there are massive inflows. So there are stockpiles in Moldova here, and the preparedness ready. So again, I think that we're moving into a situation where there's more focus on integration and stabilization of the situation. Particularly for Moldova, people are not fixed in one place. We've seen in the surveys that we've done, there's a lot of people going back and forth. So we need to take that into consideration, that people have their lives in one place and another, in Ukraine and in Moldova, and what are the specific vulnerabilities that come from this. But again, we want to understand the issues in detail to be able to react and stabilize the situation here.
Talking about the wars, which is like a target for this migration. We need to speak about the war between Israel and Hamas, and the Republic of Moldova had that task to offer protection of citizens who used to live in this area. And International Migration Organization contributed to bringing home 36 migrants from that part of the world. Was it difficult to bring them home? What were the obstacles that you have to undergo?
So as I've understood, the fact that there are many Moldovans on the Gaza Strip and indeed also in the occupied territories comes from decades ago when Moldova, being part of the Soviet Union, was receiving a number of students from Palestinians. And as human nature has it, there are bonds that are formed between Moldovans and these young Palestinians at the time. And therefore, it might be surprising that there were Moldovans in Gaza. I certainly didn't know about this. I would like really to congratulate the work between Moldova, Romania, Egypt, and the United States in order to facilitate the safe passage of the Moldovan citizens out of the situation under the warlike situation in Gaza. IOM's role, therefore, was relatively straightforward. We provide the possibilities to transfer and the reception. We are very much acquainted with that. People coming out of war zones with PTSD, injuries, long-term care support they need. So we had standby physicians, psychologists, and being able to give the kind of support that is needed for people coming out of these situations.
One should mention that when International Migration Organization came for the first time in the Republic of Moldova, people would not even dream that Moldova may itself become a country sheltering migrants. In those times, the phenomenon was that Moldovans were quitting the country, and the objective was to find solution to the problems that created this phenomenon and to do management of those situations. Now, 20 years ago, this objective, is it still an objective of the mission you are heading?
Yes, I absolutely agree that there is a paradigm shift for Moldova for many reasons, and I'll try to unpack a couple of them. Obviously, the several decades that IOM has been in Moldova has been able to work together with the government, be acquainted with the government, and creating a trust between our organization and the government, and the knowledge about the dynamics in Moldova. So that has been a great asset for us as an organization to be working so closely with the government, civil society, and other institutions. And that has been a basis for us to look at the new situation that you're characterizing, giving the specific support for populations on the move. Again, large numbers passing through, some have stayed. But there's another phenomenon as well. Moldova has been placed on the map. Smuggling, trafficking to Ukraine, and also to a certain extent Romania has been less of an opportunity, and therefore Moldova has come into focus for two different reasons, very distinct. The industry in Moldova has now started asking for more labor. And therefore, they are lobbying with the parliament and asking for open and liberalization. But at the same time, as I said, there are nefarious processes enabling irregular migration. So I think that there's a very important task for the government looking at the balance in this regard, giving the importing labor to the needed sectors, but also being wary of labor exportation or even trafficking human beings.
I recall that in different periods, our International Migration Organization would implement a number of projects with the purpose to make easier the fate of migrants, but also of the ones who remained home. That is apart from direct support to migration. There used to be projects which will help proper treatment with children that stay behind, or for people to know their rights when they went to some country legally. But there was also contribution of the presidential elections and parliamentary elections inside the country, so that people who are abroad have the right to participate to processes that are developed inside the country. And in August this year, at the Congress of Diaspora, there was another event which was also guided to some extent by the International Migration Organization. And you made a presentation which was cited by the mass media in the Republic of Moldova. And because you proposed 3 concrete actions that the Republic of Moldova is supposed to undertake. First of all, to know better diaspora from scientific and psychological point of view, to arrange return for people wishing, and to implement innovations. How are things moving in these areas? What do you feel? To what extent authorities of the Republic of Moldova are open to adopt concrete measures in this sense?
Well, first of all, I just have to applaud the President Maya Sanda for her participation in the Diaspora Days in August, as you mentioned. This was an extremely strong signal from the very highest level of the government, that the government is caring about the diaspora. After all, it's such a big part of the citizenry that still is abroad, a very successful diaspora, and is a very strong, let's say, economic part of the country. The social economic life of the country is very much tied to the diaspora, and I think that that's what was her recognition at the time. I'd like to mention 3 things in relation to your precise questions. On the 17th of October, IOM organized, together with the State Chancellery, a hearing on how to plan more in-depth consultations with the diaspora. Second thing is that IOM, together with 3 other UN agencies, received $3 million from the Migration Multi-Partner Trust Fund to be able to promote precisely these processes of consultations. And thirdly, we are looking at these kind of investment schemes because we have surveyed already the diaspora, seeing that they are, for instance, very interested in supporting the green economy, and there's a willingness to invest in that. So I think that we're getting 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak, looking at the investment of certain parts of the industry and looking at climate change issues.
People inside very often criticize many things in the Republic of Moldova, or they say they are not satisfied, or they are satisfied. What do you think would be incentives for people working abroad to return home? What would be the investments in technologies that they might contribute to?
Well, again, I believe that we need to look at the investment opportunities, the financial facilities that are there. And again, as I was mentioning, there's a strong willingness from the diaspora to invest in the green. There's a strong willingness for the diaspora to invest in the green economy in Moldova. That is one thing, the financial facilities. And another one is valorizing the skills of the diaspora, the ones that they have been acquiring. So here we're looking at ways in which you can document those skills. That has not been possible before, but through a number of projects that we are doing with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection is looking at these skills valorization, where you can get that contracted and being able to enter the job market here.
Financial inclusion and economies of migrants workers is very okay, savings, she says. And from what I know, migration organization organized a workshop dedicated to these items, and a number of problems have been mentioned. For example, reserves that financial institutions have to give credits or to offer other services to migrants, or maybe investments process as such, or the fact that migrants, for the time being, in their majority, spend their money for the current purchases and they don't do investments. How can this obstacle be overcome, to your mind?
Well, thanks very much for mentioning this conference that we were organizing together with the Ministry of Finance and the parts of the banking sector. I think first and foremost, we're looking at a number of legislative reforms, and it was again very important that the highest level of government was speaking about how to get solutions in this regard, and therefore let's look at the legislation that is being an obstacle for this. For instance, there's a lot of strictures with regards to the documentation you have to present to open a bank account and being able to invest. Is also onboarding clients, all the strictures in relation to that. So a look at the regulation is very important. The second one is what are the technical solutions that there is experience in other parts of Europe that can be imported into Moldova. There's technical frog leaping that can be done in this regard, we saw. And lastly, I think that the banking sector, what they would like to know is what is the market share of the diaspora for them as a company, as an economic activity. And that's something that IOM can help with, also looking at where are the migrants, what are their possibilities, and what are they actually in terms of a market share for the business of the banking. Because at the end of the day, they need to make money, they need to be working under the conditions of a market economy.
Mr. Lönnback, I observed you were surprised. We have a factory in our program, in our room. It's because of the holidays coming. What are the priorities of IOM for year 2024?
Well, as I was saying, the future is looking at the stabilization of Moldova and having the current refugee crisis, and as I was mentioning also, an increasing migration to Moldova being rather a sense of stability and an inclusion for these migrants. So I think that this is what we're focusing on very much. For instance, yesterday we launched with the Ministry of Social Protection, together with other UN agencies, a cash benefit for vulnerable families of Moldovans. So here we're having a leveling of the support to certain very vulnerable Moldovans, as well as to the refugees. So again, a support for as many as possible in Moldova to be able to stabilize the situation. Another area to look at, I think, which is a little bit more problematic, is disinformation, hate speech. We're going to look into that in 2024 and understanding that much. How big is the problem? What can we do in terms of migrants and refugees not being the target of hate speech that frankly comes not from Moldova always, but from abroad? Two big areas I think will be very important moving forward.
On the eve of Christmas and New Year, what would be your wish to Moldovans, those who are at home and the ones who went somewhere abroad?
Well, first of all, I'd like to wish your audience a very Merry Christmas. In any way that you're celebrating this festivity period. And I hope that everybody will find peace and tranquility at home or together with friends, because we've had a very tough year in 2023, and we need a moment to reflect and be grateful for what we have and what we hope that we can get in the year 2024.
Mr. Lönnback, thank you very much to you for accepting our invitation, and congratulations to you with the Christmas holiday and New Year, and also to the diplomatic mission. We wish you success in the new year, because the outcomes of your office are also
Thank you so much.
Vă mulțumim. Dear viewers, we came to the end of our program. Thank you for your attention. All the best to you.